A very exciting shirt, Dr. Decker.
I'm trying to exude a casual summer vibe.
Okay.
You know, it's I don't know. I had a class from the chair of my department when I was an undergrad. Thought it was kind of stiff, so
Yeah.
trying not to. Hey, how would Jeff Smitten come off, freshman? No.
Aw. I think I was a little afraid of Irvine when I had her for the first time.
That's her vibe. Like
She was intimidating in that way.
yeah, no, she's not to be trifled with. I do not suffer fools gladly. That is the front end of the Irving Gilly experience.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
The back end, much better. Well,
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, Chris.
How you doing?
Ready to be a pitch man.
Yeah.
Ready to like sell this place. Like my livelihood depended on it.
That's what we do now.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Did I hear that what's our freshman count up to? 1,500 or something?
It's close to that. If the last I was looking at it was last week.
Okay.
Today's Tuesday. I think it was like 1487.
That's good.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, I think we need to be in reality about history and stuff like that. And what point in history we are. I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, for real. Like, I know that's less than what they want it to be at, but at the same time, that seems like a pretty good number given everything.
Hey, if we don't break 3,000, it's gonna be less than what they want. So I'm not gonna worry about it.
Yeah, I know. Crazy.
What'd you say? If we don't break 2,000?
3,000. I mean,
well, I thought we were aiming at 2.
They're aiming at I don't know. I had an experience.
I think they adjusted that recently.
Yeah, I had an experience in life where I was given a lot of stretch goals and bad taste. The mortician will have to take that bad taste out of my mouth because it just.
Yeah.
Hey, Brad.
Hey there. Good.
So I have the PowerPoint.
While we're sitting here without the people, make sure you can share it.
Okay, so
we had a couple of snafus with College of Ed with folks being in as okay, awesome. Looks like that's working.
All right, I will de-share. And then Chris and I will just trade off slides. I'll go first and just intro.
Yeah, the way you described it, I think all we need to do is decide who goes first, and then
I'll go first, and then Hey, Chris, you wanna?
Right.
I personally think that using our first names is, but I think we want to not be intimidating today.
Sure.
Okay.
It's fine.
Whoa, Professor Badesky. Oh, that's the wrong. Although you have a very strokable beard there.
I do.
Yeah.
I let it grow as an effort. I thought it would I don't know, not cut it and end the pandemic. So I think it worked.
Yeah. I probably look like their dads, the white kids' dads anyway, which maybe is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That was a scary moment for me where I realized that I was like the same age as their moms.
Yeah. My 22-year-old daughter constantly reminds me that I'm actually that age, so
I still feel young in my head.
It's like my body feels young, but my brain doesn't.
Really?
It's like I don't get that sore, or I'm pretty active. I don't feel as young as I did when I was their age, but I feel like yeah, let's go on that 10-mile hike. But then I think, and I'm like, oh, get off my lawn, y'all. Just get off my lawn. I try not to let that out.
Yeah.
I try to be the human embodiment of a dad joke, and most of the time it works.
Well, I'm watching our participants slowly file in here. So what I'm gonna do, and we're already recording, that's automatic,
Mhm.
so that we can share this session
Yeah.
with other folks who couldn't join us this evening. So I will assume my MC sort of duties, and introduce everyone. And there's Kayla, and she will be our chat jockey for questions in the chat. So we've got a couple of minutes before 7 o'clock, so we can continue our chit chat here, and I'm gonna pull up some links
So
that
with the
might be helpful.
with the chat jockey thing, right? Kayla will just interrupt at points, or do we do our spiel and then she moderates the chat? Let's just make sure we have clarity.
Well,
on
what
that piece.
happened, I'll go with how we have run these in the past, and that's we kind of start things off, welcome everybody, and then I'll introduce you. You can start with the PowerPoint if you like, and
Yeah.
do your talking through. And sometimes as you're talking through, students will think of questions that they want to ask and put them in the chat. Kayla's not going to interrupt your spiel, but
Okay.
then we'll be keeping track of the questions in the chat so that we can come back to them.
Okay, I'll tip them off to that at the beginning, you know.
Okay.
Just please feel free to put questions in the chat, answered in the order they're posed, and try and get to all of them, but may not be able to.
Yeah, if we end up with a smallish group, which like I said, we still have a couple minutes, but it seems like we could, we can also, you know, have some actual discussion. It doesn't have to all be chat based.
Yeah.
There's a raise hand feature, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure most folks know how that works at this point.
If this was at all optional, I'm betting the crowd will be smallish.
Yeah.
I was trying to find a way there's a window right above me. That's why my head is so glaring. There's no way to adjust it. Sorry.
Yeah. So
Not everybody has ideal Zoom lighting.
No, I don't. It's better at different times of the day.
Yeah, yeah. In the morning, in this space that I'm in, there's a window over there, and it's like I get this whole Phantom of the Opera thing going on.
Right.
All right, something happened to Kayla.
Well, bye-bye.
Yeah, she's trying to log in on her phone, she says.
So the new website's looking pretty good.
Right? I'm so excited about it. So much better.
Yeah, the airplane thing,
The drone shots
yeah, with the
on the landing page.
Yeah, that's pretty great. Is everybody else's screen flickering, or is it just mine?
mine's pretty solid.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Beverage delivery.
Ah,
Okay. Okay, so we are recording and it is 7 o'clock.
All right.
So we can kick things off. Welcome everybody. We are super excited to see you here this evening for our Zoom with Bloom with the College of Liberal Arts. We are hosting these sessions for a couple of reasons. One is to give you some information ahead of the orientation days that are coming up. So one thing that I'm going to probably continue to repeat throughout this session is that if you're not already registered for orientation, you should register for orientation. Some really exciting stuff is happening at orientation, and we're very, very excited to have people on campus to see you in person and have you visit. You'll get all kinds of information. Your parents and supporters will get all kinds of information. And one of the things that you're going to be doing while you're here during the new student orientation days is working on your course schedule for fall. We're going to be talking a lot about that this evening so that you can get kind of a preview of the things you should be thinking about and talking over with your families as you start to, decide where you're going with your studies when you come to Bloomsburg. And we'll give you some resources this evening to help you work through some of that. If you've not already checked it out, you may have found that there's an orientation season that's happening at Bloomsburg right now. And there are several things you can do before you come to new student orientation. And we'll get to those in a little bit. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Rebecca Willoughby. I'm the Executive Director of Student Success and First Year Experience. My office does all kinds of things with first year students, orientation being one of them. And I'm joined tonight by a couple of my colleagues. I have Dr. Mark Decker from the English department and Dr. Chris Padeschi from psychology and sociology, as well as Brad Swenson from academic advisement. And they're all here to help us talk through some of the things that you should know before you arrive on campus in a couple of weeks. Like there's just a couple of weeks left before these events take place. So without further ado, I will hand things over to Mark and Chris. They have some things they want to share with you that can help us kind of get more specific about the things you can be thinking about before you arrive for orientation, particularly as it pertains to your schedule in the College of Liberal Arts.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca.
Real quick, can I jump
ahead,
in? I'm sociology, social work, and criminal justice, not sociology and psych. I don't want any.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. No, I just don't want anybody to get confused. Okay, go, Mark.
Yeah, there you go, rearranging the college on us. All right, so I'm going to show PowerPoint, yay, right? But a couple of things before I get going, please. If you have a question during the PowerPoint, just put it into the chat. There's going to be a chat moderator, and we're going to go through the chat. If we have time for more extended discussion after the presentation, which is not going to take the whole time, we'll do that. But the chat questions will be asked and answered in the order that they're posted. So feel free to get those up. All right, let me share my screen. Okay. And I hope everyone can, okay, come on. There we go. There's the big thing. There we go. Zoom with Bloom in the College of the Liberal Arts. So the goal here is to, as Rebecca said, there are things you need to think about. So this is like a pre-orientation to orientation, because you might think of orientation as like, okay, I'm going to show up and just passively be told what to do and do things and be ready to go. But this orientation will be better. This isn't like a homework assignment where you have to show up with, a report or, but it would be better if you have thought about the things that we've said beforehand. Your orientation experience will be a lot better. Chris, do you have anything to add at this point, or?
No, that's good. Yeah, we're going to get you involved in making your own schedules, and so it'll be having a sense of how that works and what kinds of things you need to think about for picking classes is going to be important.
All right, so Chris,
yeah, I'll take over then. You're going to take a lot of classes while you're here, and they come in these types. Okay. The third one is the one that is most confusing to students. Not everything you take is required. Some of the classes you take will be just up to you entirely. Okay, that's the free elective classes. Okay, the classes in your major, there'll be some choices involved there too. And that'll be 30 to, what's the max in COLA for BAs? 42 credits. Help me out.
45.
Yes.
Yeah. So in about 12 to 15 of your classes that you take during your time here will be in your major. About the same number will be general education classes. Okay. Then most COLA majors, you're going to have a lot of space left over in your schedule where, because you've got to reach 120 credits, which is 40 classes total. You're gonna have space. You're gonna have semesters where you're like, okay, I know I need this, I know I need that, but then what else am I going to take? And that's the free electives. Or you grab a minor in something and you take those classes. A minor is like a half a major. It's like specializing in something without following all the way through, but it's still really valuable. A lot of students also get second majors, which is a good thing to think about. It gives you options when you graduate. In my department, for example, I'm a sociology professor. So a lot of students show up, but they don't know what sociology is. They come as criminal justice majors or social work majors. Then they take a couple of our classes and they really like it. And they decide, okay, I want to do this. And they double major in soc and criminal justice. And then sometimes they decide to go off in a different direction in their career, rather than going into criminal justice as a career. So that's about the lay of the land in terms of the broad categories of classes. What else would anybody else want to add?
Well, I like to, in English, a lot of our students, the secondary education majors, they kind of have a career path planned out. And by the way, if you are a secondary education, either English or citizenship, if you're planning to be a teacher, make sure you talk to the College of Education, because their pathway is very restricted. You have to take certain classes in order. We have a lot more freedom. But so the non-education folks in English like to kind of split the difference between the more, something like creative writing. They'll major in creative writing, but then they will minor in something like marketing or technical writing. And so that is a good way to say, and you can do it both ways. We have marketing majors who, minor in creative writing, so you can split the difference between the more intellectual and artistic and the practical. And we do both things very well at Bloomsburg University. And so I think that's a good way to go, especially if, mom and dad are worried about you living in their basement forever. You can do something practical. And the same thing with a second major, right? You can, to a degree. Now, one thing to mention, in other colleges, you don't have as much choice. And in some of the, the engineering disciplines, it's like every single class is taken up, and all of your elective or your general education is taken up as well, very specific classes. So you may have roommates or friends who are in this regimented lockstep plan. That's not us, and so that's freedom, but that's also some responsibility for you to think about what kind of classes you would like to take.
Yeah,
and so these are the different
benefit.
Go ahead.
It's a huge benefit, I think. Having it's a responsibility, but it's a huge benefit. You can explore. This is a university you're coming to. Root word there is universe, meaning there's a lot here to check out. And there are career paths and disciplines that you don't even know exist. And because you're not so restricted in the College of Liberal Arts, you'll get a chance to try some of this stuff.
And so as far as the kind of day-to-day experience in classes, this slide attempts to explain that. A lecture is just what you think it is. You sit and take notes, and oftentimes in lecture classes there is all that, a lot of testing, and they can be very large, up to 100 students in some cases. And so and those classes are good, and the professors who teach those classes, they know what they're doing, and it will be a good experience. But the seminar classes, the seminar style classes, are much smaller, much more interactive, and so you're going to encounter a lot those more as you progress into your major and get specialized. But it's good to balance that. And a lab in the sciences, and that is, again, what you would think it is. You go in the lab, you do experiments. That's different than sitting and listening to a lecture. There's the activity or studio or performance classes. That will be encountered by most of you as a physical education class. That you literally can, go and you do. There's a class called team sports. You go play flag football. and that's a class. And of course, there's an academic component to that, but it's also, so as you can start to see, you can balance your schedule and your experience with, okay, well, this is my general education. I'm kind of interested in the topic, but I want a broad overview. You take the lecture class. I'm kind of bored and antsy, or I'm not exercising as much as I want. I'll take this PE class. There's some choices there. Developmental classes are for those students who need a little bit more practice getting up to speed where they should be. For example, you have to take a writing class. Some of you will place into Foundations of College Writing and skip over Enrich 101, which is our developmental writing class. Some of you will be placed into that. And that is based on, developmental classes are based on a pretty rigorous assessment process. I won't bore you with it, but we think hard about this. And developmental placement is you can always challenge that. There are ways the department that is in charge of that developmental class will have a way for you to go and say, hey, I don't think I was placed here. And I'll let you in on a little secret. Myself, the chair of the English department, and the director of our writing center both would have been placed into developmental writing on this campus because we were perhaps not the most diligent students in high school. And high school GPA is a big part of that. So I would have been able to say, yeah, I know what I did in high school and I know what my grades are, but look, here are the articles for the newspaper that I work for. Maybe you should let me take, so there's always a way to test out of those or to challenge those courses. There are different credit levels. Credit is, how much time you're going to spend in class. Most classes are 3 credits long, either 3 days a week for 50 minutes or 2 days a week for 75 minutes. But you can do the math with the other credits. 4 credit classes are rare outside of labs. And then there are the 0 credit CLE classes, which I'm trying to say this fairly. They're not really classes. It's their experiences. They're co-curricular learning experiences. For example, if you are a member of a volunteer fire company, there is a CLE for that. And it's not that you have to, take extra tests or show that you have some of the certifications that those firefighters do. It's just that you get citizenship credit for helping your town not burn down, right? So you should look into those, but that's what CLE means. And it could mean experience credit for something like that. Anyone have anything to add about the types of classes?
Yeah, so there's 0 credits, but they help with our general education program.
Yeah, they give you, there's 0 credits because you're not going to get a grade. So it can impact your GPA if there's no grade, but it can definitely say, goal 10 is citizenship. If you are a volunteer firefighter, you're already halfway to knocking that citizenship or all the way to knocking that citizenship out. And so then kind of let you out.
Brad, were you going to throw something in there?
Just probably the most common one that I see regularly is the CLE 111, which is the varsity athletic credit. So if you're a member of one of the university athletic teams, you can satisfy goal 9 with 2 years of participation.
Yeah, and that's the physical education goal.
Yeah, does basic training come in as a CLE?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you went to boot in the military, so again, and this just to illustrate that it's experiential credit that exempts you from a requirement, but doesn't have any credits because you don't get an A in being a varsity athlete. No matter how many times the team wins, it's not an academic experience.
So I already introduced this idea earlier when I was talking about the types of classes. So, but here it is again in more numerical form. You got to reach 120 credits. Most classes are 3 credits each. 120 divided by 3 is 40. You're going to take about 40 classes. Some people take a few more than that. You realize, oh, to finish this, I started this minor too late. Now I've got to take 2 extra classes. So you graduate with 126 or something like this. But most people are really close or nail it, right? They hit 120 and they graduate. Along the way to taking classes to reach 120, you got to take all the required classes in your major, all the required classes in your minor, and your required classes in a second major that you might choose. You got to do the general education program, which we're saying here is about 50 credits of classes, but we have to say about because our gen ed system is weird, and you'll see in a minute. Once you get a handle on it, it's no problem. But things can count in multiple places. Your choices of classes will determine how many credits it takes to finish gen ed, in other words. So about 50 credits. I think it's often less than that. Okay. So yeah, so you got gen ed courses, major and minor courses, and then freedom. Like literally, one thing I run into is sometimes students, the next semester is coming and they're like upset, they're worried. What do I take? What do I take? Like, you got time on your hands, take an elective. You know, did you like photography? Do you like to read novels? Do it. Go explore that interest. Take an art history class. You're going to run into some of this stuff in your general education courses, but part of university education is becoming a well-rounded person. And so exploring, that's why, don't tell the science people, but I actually find the fact that their degree programs are so regimented. Oh, this is being recorded, isn't it?
Yeah.
I find that the way their degree programs are so regimented, it kind of does a disservice to students, because the opportunity to explore and be a better, broader thinker, I think it makes better citizens.
Or maybe the way to explain it is it's more expensive for them because you have to stay here longer.
There you go.
There's nothing stopping them. There's nothing stopping a chemistry major from minoring in creative writing, other than, it's going to cost more because those credit hours.
Right.
It keeps you here longer, and that's an advantage. So you get to explore. You get to explore freely. You get to explore deliberately. You get to think, okay, I'm an English lit major, and I'm reading novels and learning literary history and learning literary forms, but I also know how to code. So I'm going to go over to the math and digital sciences department and take coding classes because I like it. But then when I go and look for my job, you're someone who knows how to write and how to code, for example. So thinking along those lines of what's missing in the emphasis of my major, what can I add to it, is always a good idea.
And don't be afraid of the majors that don't have the name of a job.
Yeah.
Like English or sociology, just for example.
Yeah.
Because our majors do well. They find work. The barista jokes are really, that people just work in coffee shops after getting these degrees. It's just that, it's a joke.
I do technical writing consulting on the side for a private company. And when I go to do that consulting or training work, people who work as civil engineers often tell me to encourage English majors to consider working at civil engineering companies because they need people who know how to write. And, in sociology, you learn how, and I don't want to speak for sociology too much, but you learn how to analyze how large organizations work. That's definitely needed in the corporate world. So there's what I like to say is you get to have fun over here and you have a job skill. And other majors, maybe not so much. I don't know. This is being recorded, so every single major on this campus is incredibly fun. So much fun. Okay. And one thing before I move on, that 120, that's set in stone. You will not get your degree without hitting 120 credits. And that's at every university in this country and others. There's that line is drawn. So make sure that's part of your plan. Okay, so here are the general education goals. It is, I like to think of it as counterintuitive initially, but then when you learn it, it kind of clicks into place. I think okay, brief story. When I was in college, one fall, I worked in a warehouse that loaded frozen Thanksgiving turkeys onto trucks to take to grocery stores. And the first day they had this system and it was so weird and I was having trouble learning it for about an hour and people were yelling at me and calling me college boy and this and that. All of a sudden, bam, it clicked into place and I was zipping around on that pallet jack and pulling turkeys up, you know, loading those trucks. And I think that's what the experience here is. Like the more you, and so this is why we're talking to you now. I want you to have that experience where all of a sudden click, oh, okay, I get it now, before you come back and you're asked to help create your schedule. You want to be, this is very understandable once you think about it, but you got to think for a minute. So they're different, as you can see, they're different areas of focus, and then you get points. And what points is like a class will have points, and a class can count for 2 different areas of focus. You know, it can be communication and information literacy. Liberal arts seminar does those 2 things, and it's, you know, a few points here, a few points there. So you have to keep track of your points. Now, when it says on the far right column, discipline, like a discipline is a department. Sociology is a discipline. English is a discipline. You go down the list. So with communication GEPs, you need 7 points, and there will not be more points in a class than there are credit hours. But there may be less for that particular goal. So freshman composition, foundations of college writing, that is 3 communication points. So you're halfway to the points goal, but you've only got 1 discipline. So then you would need to go and look at comm studies or media studies, and then those are 2 more disciplines, and you'll get all your points and your disciplines. Now, sometimes it's 1 discipline. Second language is 1 discipline because it's probably going to come from languages and cultures. You know, healthy living, that's PE. That's going to, you know, that's going to come from 1 discipline. But arts and humanities, 2 disciplines. Social sciences, 2 disciplines. So you can't take 2 sociology courses, you know. But although interestingly, within Chris's department, there are actually 3 disciplines. You know, there's sociology. So you could take a sociology course and a social work course and check that box up. So as you can, I recommend, and like I'm old and you can see how old I am. So it's going to sound like an old man thing to say, right? Write it down. I would literally write it down on a dead tree. Okay, that's, and my kids tease me enough. You don't need to tease me. But whatever your version, you know, you put it on the notes app on your phone. Like you keep track of this. You have a score sheet, whatever, and we have sheets that we can give to you, and you might get, you know, in a university seminar class that you're going to take here, or in other situations with your advisor. But you want to keep track. Okay.
There's also our My Husky system helps with this too.
And that will kind of automatically display on your My Husky page, but double check it, because sometimes the robot has trouble with that last column with the disciplines. Sometimes it miscounts, and so you want to be very careful with that. But then, you know, so these are like the traditional general education goals that you would find on any campus. Communication, information literacy. Is, you know, do you know how to do research with computers? Do you know how to, you know, use analytical and quantitative skills? That's math. I think everything else there is pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, and it's you need 40 points, but since points don't necessarily equate to credit hours, that's why you might have more credit hours than points in general education. Chris, you have anything here to say about this slide? Or
I was going to say, make sure you understand points are not the same as credits. just to reiterate that, like a 3 credit, oh, and not all classes count, not all classes provide points.
Yeah.
And we're going to show you that in a minute.
Actually,
it's a big list, but not every class helps with points. So for example, you see there, English 101, of course, gets you 3 points. It's 3 credits, and so it can have up to 3 points. All 3 of those points go to the communication goal. And you see this link at the bottom. You can come right to this sheet that shows all of the classes in all of the disciplines and what points they provide or don't provide. And at the top of every page on the sheet, you see reproduce that thing that Mark just went over, the points required in disciplines, right? You see the 7 and the 3 at the top and the 2 and the 1 for communication, information, literacy. Okay, so this is a handy reference, and what you do, like, we'll help you when you at orientation. We'll have this available, but then every semester before you meet with your advisor to talk about the upcoming semester, you spend 20 minutes with this thing. Like, okay, what do I need to finish? What gen ed goal do I need to finish? Okay, maybe you need more points in arts and humanities. And you scroll through, this is a long document. I know you see only English here, but imagine many, many pages of pages like this. You scroll through it, you look for something. Okay, that looks interesting. I'll try history 143 for my arts and humanities points. I'm making that up. And then you check the actual schedule of classes to see when it's offered. Most of these gen ed classes are offered every semester. Yay or nay? Yay. I see Rebecca nodding. Brad,
or at least the point equivalent. Like, let me just look. Intro lit, literature and society, popular literature. They have the same points. And so they're equivalent in terms of general education. The department, based on instructor interest and needs, may not offer all 3 of those classes in a given semester.
Right.
But there will be plenty of classes that have that point spread for you to take.
Good.
I'm just to kind of give you another tool to navigate some of the courses that you're going to have available to you when you arrive to do your scheduling at orientation. The link that I just pasted in the chat is a list of all the classes that are being offered this fall that are appropriate for an incoming first year student. And this is across all disciplines. It's not just the College of Liberal Arts. So you can kind of use that listing to browse things that are actually going to be offered this fall. That list is pulled directly from this fall's course offerings. So if you use that list, that'll give you a raft of things to browse and see, well, oh, I'm interested in this. When is it offered? How many sections, what day, what time? It'll show you all of that information for all of the classes that are going to be offered this fall for first year students.
Good. And I wanted to add this is going to be so sometimes students can get nervous about this kind of thing. Oh, they're going to make me pick classes. I'm coming to school for the first time. I don't want to do this. But a department chair will be there. Other people.
Your department chair.
What's that?
Your department chair.
Yeah, the department chair of the department where your major is will be there. And possibly other faculty and students and other folks will be available to help you navigate this stuff and make good informed decisions. And so ultimately it's going to be really empowering and good that this is new this year. This is the first time we've done it. Normally for first year students, we just throw them into what we think they should have. But now there's going to be some of that. You're thrown into some stuff that we know you need to have in the fall, but then you're going to have some choice too.
Before we get off this slide, if we should probably talk about goal 8, the second language, for a bit. And goal 8, the foreign language, is a competency. So you do need to have a level 2 competency of a foreign language in order to graduate. But that is a goal that you can satisfy with a placement test, and you can earn the points for it without actually having to take the course. So I always encourage students to take the placement test for foreign language as soon as possible before you forget too much. But it is a way to satisfy a goal without actually having to take any of the credits.
Yeah, good, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, if you just got out of 4 years of high school Spanish and you went down to Mazatlan, well, nobody's traveling now, but you know, if you've been to Mexico or Spain and you're, you know, relatively fluent, absolutely do it now. As soon as you get on campus, take that. It won't give you any credit hours, but you don't have to worry about the second language. And before, the other thing to point out before we go on is that, as you can see, classes sometimes split between different goals, like the 100 level literature survey courses. It's 1 communication point and 2 arts and humanities points. And you're going to find that as you go through this, the full thing, you're going to see goals are all over, you know, that split is more common than not. And that's why you have to pay attention to the classes. It's not like a less adventurous general education program where it's like, I need an English, I need a social science, I need a, you know, it's more, no, I get points from here and here.
And that's why we don't know how many credits it's going to take you. It's going to be from your decisions. Because sometimes people will have more points than they need.
Okay, so now we've tried to give that background. This is where we come into the fall schedule. You're going to have at least 1 class on your schedule already, probably English or math. Please leave that class there. You will have, I don't want to tell you how much time I spend making sure I have enough seats in English classes so that the people who need an English class in the fall have that English class. And you don't want to get derailed and not have the English class, because you must, in that math class, the reason you're put into those 2 classes, one of those 2 classes, is that you have to take Foundations of College Writing, or test out of it, or transfer an equivalent credit, or you can't graduate. You have to take a math class. It's less restrictive than just 1 class, but you have to take a math class, or test out of it, or transfer an equivalent credit, or you can't graduate. You don't want to be a senior and, you know, send out the invitations and tell your family, hey, you know, and be told you can't graduate because you didn't take freshman composition or that math class. And oftentimes those classes are prerequisites for classes that you need. So leave those there. There may be other classes on the schedule. If there is a class that is not the English or the math class on your schedule, or if you're an English major, there's going to be also English 100 in addition to English 101. The other classes there were put there by your department chair, not random department chair Mark, but your department chair, based on what you will need to get through. Mom and Dad, if you can hear me, right? Now, this is where the financial control comes in. You put classes off that you need to take, it's much more likely you're going to be in a situation where you stay here for an extra semester, pay an extra semester's worth of tuition, you pay an extra semester's worth of living expenses, you delay starting that job that college has prepared you for by 6 months because you didn't feel like taking the math or the English class. So this is, you know, we're not going to stop you. We're not going to come, oh, you shouldn't have done that. But because the natural consequences here, the natural financial and time consequences here are so real that we're just, you know, we don't need to do that.
Yeah, so to be clear, some of you will have 1 class you're pre-registered for, others might have 2, others might have 3. So I think CJ majors and social work majors in my department will have 3 preloaded. 2 that help with your major, and one gen ed class, the math, the first math class you need. So that if you're in that group that has 3 already registered, you leave those alone, and then during orientation you're going to pick 2 more.
Yeah,
we need everybody to get up to 15 credits. Okay, and 5 3-credit classes is 15 credits.
and eventually, remember, it's 15 to degree. You want to be here for 8 semesters. That will not happen unless you take 15 credit hours each semester. Now, can you make up 3 credits here or there in the summer? or the winter session, yes, you can, but it's very easy to dig yourself out. 12 credits a semester, that's an extra year, at least. Now the little secret, I do not recommend taking more than 15 credits as a freshman, but it's the same cost for 15 up to 18. So later in your career, if you have a high degree of confidence that you can do that, you can accelerate things a little bit. You know, you add a summer class here, 18 credits there, pretty soon you're leaving a semester early. So this again is something you need to think about now, at the consequences of your pacing, you know, has a very real financial impact and time impact.
And students do sometimes drop a class. You
Mm.
start your semester with 15, and for financial aid reasons, people typically have to be full-time, and full-time is 12. If you start with 15 credits, something goes haywire with a class that you're not doing well in, you can drop that one class, but only do it if you really have to. You can drop a class midstream and a W appears on your record rather than an F or a D that you might want to avoid. Okay. But if you start a semester with 12 and one of those classes goes haywire, you're down to 9 credits, and then your financial aid might be in jeopardy. Based on there are standards about financial aid. You've got to make a certain amount of academic progress each year in order to qualify for your financial aid. Mm. So that's another reason why 15 is really good. Like Mark said, 15 to degree is good. If you ever have a semester though there where you drop to 12, like say first semester of your freshman year, you do 15, great. Second semester, something goes haywire, you go from 15 to 12. You just got to know in your head, you got to make up that 3 credits somewhere during a summer, during a winter, during an 18 credit semester later, like Mark was describing. You got to make up that 3 credits somewhere if you want to stay on time of finishing in 4 years.
And this is a sample schedule. So let's put it in terms of, let me actually, Chris, would this be sort of likely for an incoming social work major to have a schedule that looks, to have their schedule have English 101 and social work 133 on it already?
Yep. This is actually, with one exception, this is a good social work schedule. Yeah. It would be 133, and the human bio they need. Social work requires that of social work majors. And then actually, this would be a fine schedule. We would put you in sociology 211 also, because that's required in social work as well. But you could, somebody would be fine if they started with this schedule. I think I saw a question in the chat. Should we grab that? Do we need 17 disciplines over the course of 4 years? No. Those discipline counts only mattered within each one of those goals. Can we go backwards, Mark? Yeah.
Let's go to this guy. Yeah, so you can get, English has communication points, it has cultures and diversity points, it has arts and humanities points. And it doesn't, the count is only within arts and humanities, it's only 2 disciplines. So, English and theater. In communication, it's 3 disciplines. So English, comm studies, and media stuff, so you can have multiple uses of English and with, in different point categories and still be fine.
Yeah, it probably will add up to like 15 disciplines that you dabble in over the course of the time you're here.
And there's no official
like English
count,
can appear, something like English can appear in multiple places. So you don't just have to, just don't even worry about the total count of disciplines. That's probably the easiest way to think about it. Yeah. Just worry about it with each.
Yeah. No one will hear from the registrar's office, I'm sorry, you only have 15 disciplines. You're going to have to get that. Will not.
Right. Go ahead, Brad.
And different departments will distribute the courses differently. So you could use critical thinking in philosophy for 3 of the points of this 5 that you would need in analytical and quantitative skills. They also have contemporary moral problems that has 3 points in goal 4, which is culture and diversity. You can also take intro to philosophy, which has 3 points in humanities. So you could take 3 philosophy courses and use them across 3 separate disciplines.
Mhm.
So, and
And
that's where some students will use that to start to build minors in things they're interested in. And that's sometimes how they will kind of start to build on potential additional areas of study, is that it's gen eds that they can take for a couple different areas that are counting differently. You'll see that a lot with anthropology as well. Anthropology has a lot of points spread out across separate disciplines where you can take 4 to 5 anthropology classes that are going to help satisfy maybe 5 different goals.
And this is also, if it's not a minor, you can at least spend some time in a discipline that you're interested in and get your gen eds. You know, you may not have to, you may like to read, you may take an English class and really like it. You may not have time for the minor, but you can take a few more English classes, kind of scatter it through, you know, or philosophy or anthro, and at least keep that intellectual interest, you know, as part of your college experience. I want to go back to this and say, so if you were, and I'm just being hypothetical here, so your incoming social work, when you go to schedule, English 101 and social work 133 may be the only things on your schedule, or maybe Soc 211, social work 133, and English 101. That's what
It's going to be math. It's going to be math 101, not English.
Okay, so it's math 101, social work 133, and Soc 211, right? So you got 9 credits that you do not touch. If you want to get out of here in 8 semesters, you don't touch it. But that's only 9 credits. So you have 6 more credits. What do you want to do? You could take nursing 101 and theater 103 and get that. You're going to need those gen eds to be satisfied. But you could take other courses. You could, you know what, I'm actually kind of interested in science, but not willing to, you know, dedicate the time. So I'm going to take this physics class. You need the, you know, the wonderful thing about your first semester is that you're wide open in terms of the general education choices you can make. It's some, you know, eventually you've already filled in the boxes and you're kind of stuck. And you know, it's like playing tic-tac-toe. Eventually all the squares get taken off. But this first semester, you know, you're going to have a level of constraint with the classes that are already there. They stay there, but in those open classes, you know, think about what you want so you can ask for it when you register.
And this is all way too much information we're giving you. It's okay if you don't remember a lot of this. It'll be familiar when we come back to it during orientation. It'll be familiar during the first semester, and you'll be shocked. Like, this was probably, like, they've talked about so many different ridiculous things. During at a certain point in your freshman year, you will understand all of this. None of it will be new. It'll be old hat.
Although the big takeaway is, think about which general education courses you would like to take your first semester, because you will need to pick some.
Mm-hmm.
You will be in a room and you'll be asked to pick general education courses. Do you want to go, oh crap, I haven't even looked? Or is it like, yeah, I've been thinking about this astronomy class. I'm really interested in that. You know, even though I'm a creative writing major, is it available? You know,
oh crap! I didn't look. Will be fine too, because we'll solve.
Yeah, we'll help you. But to maximize the experience, you know, your department chair will be there, and your department chair will be full of suggestions that are good for your major. However, to maximize the experience, you know, when you're bored, take your cell phone out, scroll through the possible you know, classes, and think about it. Okay, and this is this is the list of department chairs for those of you who are not criminal justice, social work, sociology majors, or English, creative writing, secondary ed English, or professional writing majors. I think this is to the second to the last slide. I'm gonna leave this up and maybe we can take the questions and just kind of leave this screen up so that people can see, names and email address.
Is everybody here, is anybody here undeclared, or do we all have, and it's good to be undeclared. That's not an insult. Is anybody here undeclared?
We like to use the word exploratory.
Exploratory.
Yeah.
Exploratory.
Very good, Caleb. So,
Okay, well, this is a really good question about dual enrollment.
Uh-huh.
Okay. That is, unfortunately, I tell students all the time that sometimes your high school will lie to you. You need to have any credits transferred directly from the institution that are awarding the credits.
Yeah.
Okay. The sooner you can get the transcript to us, the better. If you have AP credits, the sooner you can have the scores transferred, the better, so we can make adjustments to your schedule and make sure you're not losing any credits and losing progress. But it would have to come directly from the institution awarding the credits. Sometimes your high school will tell you that it's on your high school transcript. Don't worry about it. That is incorrect, because that is not an official transcript. It has to be an official one.
and don't panic if you see something wrong. Like I think it was Alexis who's talking about her Spanish. Let's say, for example, somebody put you in Spanish for the fall and you notice that during orientation. Don't panic. Just tell your department chair, right? Or if and everybody, if you're not exploratory, you should probably write down the name and email address of that department chair now, and reach out to that person with any questions you might have. Just say, hey, I'm an incoming first year student, and here's a question I didn't think of when Mark and Chris and Rebecca and Brad were droning on and on, right? So just email us, email the right people.
Yeah, and the department chairs are on the job over the summer. Now it's a kind of a part-time contract, but we do come in at least three days a week, so your email will be answered. Just a little expectations management. If your chair tells herself or himself, yeah, I'm going to take Tuesdays off this summer because I don't need. You send the email Monday night, you're going to get an answer maybe on Wednesday, but you will be answered relatively quickly.
Is that the end of our slide presentation, Mark?
Pretty much.
Well, just the
This
part
was, oh, okay.
that says that this is no longer my problem or Chris's problem. It is now Brad Swenson's problem and Rebecca
The
Wilson's
previous
problem.
slide said it was our problem.
Well, only for our majors.
Oh, right.
And I mean,
Well-
that's I mean, I would be glad to talk to, say, a media studies major to get them to Jason Genevieve's, but you really, it's your chair or Brad or Rebecca to help, unless, if I'm your chair, then email me. If Chris is your chair, email him. But I cannot answer questions about an anthropology major.
And if you don't know,
Another
who-
thing,
you don't know who
yeah.
to ask, just ask one of us and we'll
Yeah.
give you the right
Yeah,
person.
we'll direct you. We'll direct you. If you don't know, if you want to email me, tomorrow and say, hey, I'm an anthro major, I will forward that right along to Dr. Fazzino, and I will write a little, hey, David, this is one of your students, came to my Zoom last night, please help. And so, yeah.
And if you, for some reason, you're not screenshotting or you're not writing down all the various emails that we're throwing at you, don't worry. You can also contact academic advisement and we can get you where you need to go. So if you just remember that one office, we can answer your questions a lot of times and connect you with your appropriate department chair so that they can get you on your way. So don't worry about, I know it's a ton of information. We're trying to prepare you for the time that you'll be visiting us. And like Chris was saying, you know, we understand completely that you're not going to remember all of this. That's totally okay. Our point tonight was just to sort of introduce you to some of these ideas and make them familiar when you arrive on campus and start to think about your fall schedule for your first year. Yeah, and Brad's making a good point. If you're an exploratory student like Caleb, you're going to be assigned an advisor in our department in academic advisement. So you'll be seeing a lot of us if you're exploratory, and that's definitely okay. Our whole purpose in life in that office is to kind of help you satisfy your general education requirements and help you explore so you can figure out what path you want to be on. So we're taking care of the general ed and the free electives and all the GEP points that we've been yammering on about. But we're also trying to say to you, hey, you might want to try this, or hey, you might want to try that, depending on what your end goal might be. Yeah, you may already have, we've already started that process with our exploratory students. So you can watch for that. You should be getting, if you are assigned an advisor, at least an academic advisement, you should be getting a kind of welcome message from your advisor. That's going to go to your university email. So one of the other things that I can suggest is that you start to think about checking your university email. That's where all the communication for these events is going to be going. I talked to someone on the phone just yesterday who said, oh yeah, I was checking my high school email and I missed this thing that you did. That's okay. There's another event that you can catch later on, but it's one of those things that I know is part of the transition from high school to college, is checking that college email. So that's where a lot of information for these things is going to be headed. Do we still have some time and we still have some people I see in the participants list. Do you have any other questions? This time is really to allow you to ask some things that you might be curious about before you come to orientation. They can be about your schedule or about pretty much anything else that you might be thinking about, stuff you're excited about, things you want to know before you get here. We are happy to assist. It is a quiet group.
That's okay.
That's okay.
One last thing I want to say is I like the people who are exploratory. I'm not saying those of you who've chosen a major are making a bad decision, but I want to just do a shout out to that group, because it's like I said before, it's a university and you don't have to have your whole life decided at 18 years old or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the exploratory majors should maybe explore in their areas of interest and competence, right? You know, what sounds good to you, take a class. You know what the best way to figure out if you belong in a major is to take a class. So, you know, what if you're exploratory folks should sit down and, you know, think through, write down whatever, all right, what am I interested in majoring in? There's probably a general education elective related to that major or that area of study. Take it, see if you like it. That's the only way, you know, so you can explore deliberately. That's my advice.
Mm-hmm.
I see a couple other questions. I have to leave orientation early. Will I miss the class scheduling? It's possible. We have it scheduled at a particular time. I see Kayla is going to jump in there also. It would depend on what session you register for. So Kayla's going to get, I think, a more specific answer for you there. And when does the full schedule come out? So here's what we have available. You'll have a couple of things on your schedule already, as Mark and Chris mentioned. One of those things is likely to be an English class or a math class. the rest of those things, maybe one other thing or two other things, might be put there by your department if your major is already declared. And then you'll be able to add those last two courses at orientation. So you will leave orientation with your full schedule, if that's what you mean.
Any chair on this campus will help a student who has to miss the scheduling
Yes.
part
Yes,
of
that
this.
too.
You are our main, we help liberal arts. You got a lot of general education students coming through your classes, and that they are important to you. But chairs take a special interest in their majors and try and help when asked. You know, we're not like your parents. Oh, are you okay? What are you doing? but it's more like we are your assistants. And you say, hey, chair, help me with this. It's part of our job. We get paid for it. Glad to do it. So don't worry. Just reach out to your chair. It would be helpful if your chair knew in advance that and could get that squared away in advance, but not necessary.
And if something goes wrong on orientation day, like you somehow don't get the choices made, just talk to that chair that's right there and we will solve the problem. You and that chair will solve the problem after that session in that computer lab.
I see another question about housing that Kayla May is typing an answer for, but that information comes from the housing office. It'll show up in your college email, in your Husky mail. I'm not sure, Kayla's going to answer your question because I'm not sure when exactly that happens, but it should be happening soon. Okay, great.
Typically that's August. Late
August.
July, early August.
You will be able, one of the things that we're offering as a piece of orientation when you come to campus is a tour of a dorm room. So you can actually get a look at one of the rooms where you might be living on campus. If you're not able to come to campus for orientation, we haven't really talked about that. If you're unable to come to one of the in-person days that we're offering, there's still the virtual orientation. And honestly, the only difference between the information that you will get during virtual orientation and the information that you get in an in-person day is that you just won't be on campus. And I know that many of us are really excited to have you on campus and for you to see the campus and see where you're going to be living and learning for the next 4 years. But if whatever happens and you can't do that, that's okay. You'll still get all of the information that you need. You just won't be able to see the campus. You can do a lot of virtual stuff now. You can do a virtual dorm room tour. You can do a virtual campus tour, but you just won't be able to, put feet on BU ground until you come in the fall for Welcome Week, which is fine. You'll still be prepared. Okay. Okay, and Kayla's saying admissions has res hall tour videos for each residence hall, so you can see specifically where you're going to be living once the housing assignments come out. Cool beans. Anything else that we can help you with, friends? Well, I want to thank everyone for showing up and participating, getting some information about your course schedule, about general education, about all of the fantastic opportunities you'll have in the College of Liberal Arts and across campus when you come to Bloomsburg. If you have questions that I'm always that person who's like thinking of things after the meeting. So don't sweat it if that's you too. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. I saw that Brad already popped his email into the chat. You saw my email on the last slide, as well as Brad's email on the last slide, and you got all the chair's emails in the slide deck. There's also going to be this recording available if you want to come back and visit us again virtually, or if you know someone who couldn't be here tonight and wants this information, we'll make these recordings available I think they're available like the next day. So they'll be definitely able to, yes, on the orientation site. So you'll definitely be able to revisit this information. And like I said before, under the Zoom with Bloom section. Okay, good. Thanks, Kayla. So you'll definitely be able to get in touch with us. And if you remember nothing else about this, just remember that we're here to help you. And we're very excited that you've chosen Bloomsburg, and we're super stoked to have people on campus in the next couple weeks. So if you've got questions before those things happen, please get in touch with us. That is what we're here for. So thank you again, everybody. Please let us know if there's any way we can help. And we're really excited to see you hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. Thank you all for coming.
I'm looking forward to seeing you.
Take
Yes.
care.